Welcome back to Casually KANE9. I'm Casey.
And I'm Kait.
And I feel like I should start this by saying that we're sorry that we overcommitted and underdelivered on our podcast last week.
Whoopsies.
We intended to record a part 2 on Thursday last week, and it didn't happen because we overcommitted ourselves.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I'm like, this sounds like a great idea in the moment. And then when we actually got to those days that we're like, oh man, we need to record another podcast. I just wasn't mentally there, guys. I'm sorry. So happy Tuesday. We're back. Sorry for that.
Happy Tuesday
overcommitting,
if you're listening on Tuesday.
Underdelivering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we had a great week. Otherwise, very busy because it's our busy summer season.
Lots of boarding dogs.
Yeah.
We have one crew of dogs that they have 4 dogs in their household. So just adding one household with 4 dogs just adds a lot of bodies, but they're great dogs. So it's like the dynamics down in the kennel room with all of the dogs, they're all really good dogs, and most of them vibe super, super well together. It's just a lot of mouths to feed, lots of like, okay, who gets what, remembering that, all of the walks. So we've had such a great crew of people that have helped us with walks this week, which I know some of you listen, like no one will ever understand unless you also run a dog business of just what having help with walks does for us. Like it changes the game because, for instance, the other day we had 10
qualified people too.
Yeah.
Who listen and learn from us.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are, people that did our shadow program. So like I would expect them to know how to do the K9 walk now, but and holding the dogs accountable and stuff like that. But it just helps us so much because if we have, like the other day we had 10 dogs at a time, and it's like us trying to get 10 dogs done, say we have to walk each of them individually, it would literally be Casey and I, without even walking our own dogs, 5 walks each, and that's not even the training aspect. That's just getting them moving. So super beneficial. Thank you for those who have helped us out, and thank you to you listeners who understand that we underdelivered and over-promised and underdelivered, but we're back.
Yeah. So also, before we get going too far, we did have our video on Spotify last week. We got some good, we're going to try to look at the camera a little bit more. We got some good feedback on that, so we're going to continue doing that. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it today, but we just want to give a quick kitchen rental update, and then we're going to get to dog stuff because we didn't do it last time. So
go ahead.
You go ahead, Katie.
It's fully functioning where she needs to be right now, but there's just a lot of odds and ends that still need to be done, backsplash, that kind of stuff. So I'm just ready for it to be over, to be completely honest. It's just like not fun anymore. So the kitchen stuff, it's fun. It's looking beautiful. There's, things that it's like we need to adjust or we need to get done, and then I'll be a happy camper. But we get this sounds like so bougie, but I swear we're not that bougie, but we get our house cleaned tomorrow. We have like someone come once a month or once every 3 weeks just to help do a really deep clean, and we reached out to her and we're like, hey, can you come, and you'll probably need to be here a little longer, like let us know what that is. But I don't do well living in like what feels kind of dirty. I know most people would walk in our house right now and be like, oh, it looks great, but I see dust on everything. I'm like, I just dusted you. So I'm ready for this to be done.
It's like drywall dust and construction, just stuff in the air that have accrued over the past 2 weeks. But in reality, when you look back at how long ago we started this project, where we are now, I think that we jumped on this, and we got a lot of stuff in. We arranged the right people at the right times, and thankfully we're coming together. We're back in the kitchen. We're doing everything there. So it's lovely.
Yeah, definitely. Just even having the washing machine or the dishwasher hooked up is a godsend. So first world problems.
I think you were asking me like 3 days, like, is that thing done yet? Is that thing hooked up yet?
And it sounds so ridiculous because like we can hand wash dishes. I just don't want to. Like that's the reality of it. Like some of them we have to, like certain pans and stuff. But like when you have a dishwasher and you're used to it, it's all you want back. And even like the garbage disposal, I'm like, I feel like we don't put a ton down it just because we're on a septic, but I'm like, I feel like we went through garbage bags way more this last couple of weeks than what we normally do, and that's obviously just also because we had so much like garbage and stuff. But
garbage from the deconstruction.
Yeah, but like kitchen garbage, because the sink that we had to use down here, you can't put any food down. So again, first world problems. But yeah, we are very excited to get this done. I'm over it. I'm done with projects for a little bit.
I think we were over it after we started taking our stuff out of our old kitchen and realizing where everything was going to be. And it wasn't like we didn't think about this stuff ahead of time. We did, but until you are actually starting to do it, it's like, all right, well, hopefully we don't have to live like this too long.
Literally, I didn't realize it was going to be so dirty. That was the biggest thing for me, is like, I understand that, like, but I could not believe the amount of like drywall dust and grime everywhere. Like, I thought it would just have been like the one deconstruction would have been kind of grimy, but no, I just feel like it's been never ending. But yeah, that's okay.
It just kind of goes everywhere when you're cutting and doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it has been nice like this week, like cooking way more at home, because the first week after deconstruction week, I mean, we did like order in meal service, which ended up being really nice, but like we probably went out to eat one weekend almost every meal, well, every dinner, I guess I should say. And I was like,
every day for the weekend.
I was like, this was fun, but I feel like garbage.
Yeah,
so
we can't do this.
So
we frequented the same restaurant twice.
Oh, and it still will be our go-to spot. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not sick of it.
Great food. Just
really good authentic Mexican food, and it's close to our house. You can literally go with dog hair covering you, and like at the end of our day, and no one be like, geez, where'd they roll out of? And it's so fast. Like, yeah, the servers know us. I love it. We're walking
Is that
out.
Good or bad?
We're walking out, and you can like see the chefs in the back. And Casey was like, "Bye, guys." So we're literally like frequent flyers there.
We usually say thank you because their food is awesome.
So good.
Just
I think we might have talked about this restaurant once on the podcast, but the first time we went there, because it hasn't even been open a year yet, I don't think.
Yeah, not this location.
Oh, they have another location, but I don't know if it's the same owners or not, or if it's a franchise. I'm not sure. But this particular location hasn't even been open a year. And the first time we went, we were the only ones there. And yes, granted, it was like a Tuesday evening, like not super late, not super early, like kind of I don't know, it's kind of like a typical dinner time, but I was like, oh no, I really hope they make it, because they were so nice and their food was so good. And every single time we've gone, it's been busier, and we can't even always get a booth now every time we go in. But normally they have one open waiting for us, I swear.
We just love to see them getting busier and busier, because that means that obviously a business is hopefully making money. They'll be able to stick around because, they're good people. Oops. We like their food. Yeah. They're good for the area. So good all around. We've
had a bee problem. So if you're watching, you know that we're under a pergola right now. There's stairs that go.
Transition.
Sorry.
We've had a bee problem.
I was just looking at Birdie, and I was making sure there wasn't, because when we were outside, she's out here with us, and she was sneezing. I was trying to make sure a bee wasn't stinging her. So we like bees. Like, we don't want to kill the bees. And so I'm going to feel really bad telling you this. Know that we really wanted the bees to stay. But when you start coming at my dogs, we have a problem when they're not bothering you. They were not provoking. So going down the stairs,
they're also coming after me too.
Yeah, but you're an adult.
Oh my god!
You can be like,
start coming after the dogs. You're in trouble. Start coming after Casey. Well, maybe you can stick around and beat him up a little bit more.
Well, I got stung by one too, so it's like I'm not worried about us humans as much as the dogs, because they can't they don't know. So going down the stairs, there must be some sort of bee's nest or something, but they're the ones. They're not bumblebees. They're the big stingers ones that come
out. Are those
out.
Hornets or wasps?
They're not wasps. They're hornets, I think. And first it started with stinging BB, and if you know me, I'm like, no one messes with BB. So she was sad. I gave her a little Benadryl, made sure the stinger was out. She was limping? So sad. Her paw was broken. I'd swear, oh my gosh, crying. And I'm like, oh, baby. And I thought it was a fluke. And this was after I had gotten stung, but I got stung in a different location under our pergola. And then Rhodey gets stung the other day, and he wasn't like, B is, I will say, she likes to like look for bugs. So I'm like, oh, B, well, you were probably over by it. Like, you gotta leave him alone. I'm not actually saying this to her, but I'm like thinking it in my head because she doesn't understand it. And Rhodey was literally just walking up the steps to come inside. He doesn't mess with bugs unless a fly is like landing on his head or something like that. He'll try to catch it, but he's not a bug chaser, a bug hunter like Birdie is. And this one just out of nowhere came and stung him on his back leg, and I saw it hanging from like his Achilles tendon, and he like freaked out and grabbed it and like threw it, and so then he's like kind of foaming at the mouth. It was a whole thing. His leg kind of swelled a little bit.
It was in the evening, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't dark out, but I was like, what the heck? So then he got stung. And then, was it yesterday that you got stung?
Yeah, walking down in the kennel room to do some work.
Again, not pestering them.
Just walking down the stairs, it got me right through my sock.
And now his ankle is like...
It's freaking huge.
It's... One's giant and one's small, and he goes, yeah, I can't even like walk around town because people are going to be like, look at that fat ankle. I'm like, literally, what do you mean you don't walk around town? What is this town that you're talking about that you walk around? And secondly, no one's going to look at you and be like, look at his fat ankle.
Yeah, I mean, it is
like your socks cover
really
it.
distracting though, because it is so tight. I mean, just like swollen big time. You wouldn't even think that there was an ankle in there right now.
Ew.
Because it's
Yeah, he goes, I don't even feel like I have an ankle. I'm like, what do you mean you don't feel like you have an ankle?
It's just weird. I don't know. I have never had a reaction like this before. So
we had to do some bee situations. I don't even know.
I had to get some like wasp and hornet killer stuff. Like we said, we don't love to do that, but when they start,
we're also sick of everything getting stung.
When they start hurting us and the kids, then
the babies in row.
So,
yeah,
and I've been stung multiple times, like in my lifetime with bees or anything like that. But I've never had a reaction like this before. So I don't know if it was just it was a good one, or if I'm actually maybe a little allergic to it.
Who knows?
I'm not sure.
Alrighty, well, what is our topic of the day, sir, that we were supposed to do as our part 2?
I don't know what to call it, but I want to talk about something that I've just been noticing a lot lately, and it's not really like pointing anybody out, but I feel like when dogs are with us and they're training with us, this is nothing like against the training that you do or like all the work that you do, but like when they're with us, it is truly training as a lifestyle, because every little thing when they're in the kennel room, when they're with us, when they're training, when they're around the other dogs, we have expectations every single time for that. And most dogs do really, really well with us and those expectations. And sometimes when they go home, owners get lax and they start to experience maybe some reactivity again or something like that. And then they come to us and we clean it up. And I just feel like...
Or we don't see it.
Or we don't see it at all because they don't try it with us.
And then honestly, I think I know what you're kind of getting at is like I guess I don't know what you're getting at.
Well, I want to talk about like just our lifestyle as it is and why we don't see some of those things, or why some people do, why some people don't, what the expectation is when they're with us. Like, how does that differ from when the dog goes home?
Really depends on the dog from a standpoint of like reactivity and stuff like that is not easy. So like there's certain dogs that I know are going to go home, and I know them and their owner are going to have a lot of stuff they have to work through because they're not an easy dog. Timing is so important with that dog. It's more of the dogs that are like honestly easy that come back and they're like getting out of their car, they're pulling on the leash, they're doing stuff that I'm like, I'll be totally honest, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see because it's like, I know the capabilities of your dog and I know the capabilities of you. This is, again, not at anyone in particular, but like if you feel this, like if you're listening, you're like, oh yeah, I do get there, and like I'm kind of letting my dog, like, don't use this as like a shame on you thing. Use it as like an education piece of like, hey, take that moment. Like we're not in a rush. Like if you're getting here, yes, we're always busy, but like if you're getting here to drop off your dog for boarding or something and you're like, hey, I need to give them like an extra minute to settle in the back seat to get them in, calmly in their down, I will literally be so proud of you if you do that. Or if you like have a moment where you do have to hold them accountable, even though your dog's 99.9% of the time are really excited to see us. Like, we love that. We love that they're happy to see us.
Yeah.
But I want you to think about it as like, or if you don't train with us and, you know, you're taking them back for boarding or to grandma and grandpa's house or something, it's like, really think about like, what did your trainer like expect when you first were, you know, reunited with your dog? Like, it wasn't a immediate family reunion. Yes, we got to that, but it's like, part of me honestly has to do like reflecting of like, what more information could I give? What more, you know, example setups can I give to like help people, you know, really navigate through some of those moments? And I think for me, over time of doing this for so long, it doesn't bother me as much as I think it might for you, because you're still relatively newer to this. And so the dogs that like you've trained with me from here, if those are the ones coming back for boarding, you know how much went into it also for you, where I'm kind of like, if the owners are happy with where things are at and that's what they want to bring their dog out of the car, that's fine. But what I will say is my only challenge then comes into play is I won't allow that with your dog. So that's where it's like, I want to make sure we're being fair to your dog. And I think at the end of the day, we all want that. We all want to be fair to the dog. So if Fluffy, I'm always going to use a name that I haven't trained. If Fluffy comes out of your car dragging on prong, I will tell you right off the bat, when we take the leash, they will get a correction, because we are not going to let them pull on the leash, even if you're around. And that's like, I will do it and Casey will do it. It's just going to be what the dog needs in that moment to stop doing that. But like, we will do that in front of you, because it's like, we're not going to let your dog continue to self-reinforce for that. But now I might have to be higher in my number, firmer on the leash. They might have more of an adjustment period being back, like if you aren't kenneling at home. So I think it's less about like what you are doing at home that you might be missing, because if you're really trying, you're gonna miss things regardless. That's not the problem. But if you are like, we're really not really doing a whole lot of anything, and we're not doing the having them hold it down in the car anymore, we're not using the e-collar to adjust for arousal, like, just know that when your dog is back, we're not gonna allow that. So that's where it's like, you have to think about, what do I want for my dog? And if it were me, I would want my dog to consistently understand the communication across the board, so that if I were to drop them off to boarding or something like that, they don't have a really tough transitional period. Like, that's my personal, like, what I would want for my dogs. So even if I know something's coming up, like Rhodey's a really good example, is if he's going to boarding, it's with a trainer friend that I trust wholeheartedly with him. But like, at night now, our dogs sleep on their beds and they are so appropriate. They're great. But like, when he's going to be going to boarding, I'm going to do, you know, the next however many nights having him sleep in this kennel, because I want to make sure that it's consistent to what I know he's going to get back in boarding or at training or wherever it may be, because I want to be fair to him. And that's where I always think, like, if you can take it out of like, okay, I don't really want to work with my dog today, just think of like, how can I be as clear as possible for them today, so that no matter who's potentially trying to communicate with them, they feel that level of clarity. And I don't know if that's exactly what you're kind of going at, but that's how I feel, is like, be really fair to your dog, because like, they need you to be consistent and clear. And like, that's truly, if you get two things out of training, like, be consistent with them and be clear with them. Like, those are the two things.
And again, this could really go many different ways. There's no like title to how to talk about this, but I just feel like sometimes we get dogs that come back and again, we're talking about our experiences with boarding dogs coming back, and some situations like that where, we see some behaviors that we're like, okay, like, let's not allow that. Let's nip this in the bud right away, because we know what your dog's capable of. Not only that, but not just for dropping them off at boarding, but tightening up on those things will help a lot at home too, because likely you're experiencing situations that are like, we haven't experienced that when we had our dog come back from our board and train, because we dialed them in. We had very clear expectations, consistency, XYZ. And then we start to lax up a little bit, and then we start to see some things again. It's like, okay, well, we need to look at our relationship with our dog and remember that they know those things, and we can expect those things from them. Again, of course, if your dog doesn't know those things, then we need to be fair to them. But I'm talking about our experience with some of the dogs that we have coming back for boarding or whatever. We know what your dog's capable of.
And the other thing that can be wild is we will sometimes take a dog, walk into our kennel room, and never see, like, they literally, the second that door shuts, it's as if they're almost like, I'm back. And like, they're happy to be back. Yes, there's some that can be like your little nervous Snellies that are kind of like, wait, like, especially if they trained at our old house and then are coming to our new house. But the second they get the vibe of like, it's me, like I, pop them in the crate, get them out to the, just do all the things that I know that like could be a pattern that they're going to remember with me. It's really cool to see them be like, oh, yes, I'm back with her. Yes. Like, this is cool.
You almost see them shed.
Yes, heaviness almost.
That whatever was weighing them down, it sheds them. And we get to see your dog again when they were training with us. And like Kait said, usually it happens within a few minutes.
Yeah.
They're just, and this isn't just like training dogs too. Like, we'll have shadow trainers come into our training room and they'll see and feel the energy and what we expect. Again, we don't expect a lot, but we just expect calm, cool energy and respectfulness in the kennels. That's it. And we have trainers come in to our room and they're like, I can't believe this. Like, they're just, their jaw hits the floor when they see, we have, potentially 5 or 6 dogs in here, sometimes more, depending on the weekend. And it is completely quiet. It's a calm, cool energy. Everybody's in a down. A lot of times their heads are down. No whining, no barking.
We have our moments too.
We do
but
have
it's moments. That's all it is.
Moments. I'm not going to say that we don't have our moments that we need to work through, but the energy is calm, cool, and collected. It's just what we expect. It's not a lot to really ask for, and that's why we do that. So we just don't see it. I mean, honestly, we'll have dogs who come and they're like, oh yeah, my dog is super reactive, and they're in training, and they will never be reactive with us. And
I do understand that, like, there's so much more to it than, because, like, our dogs are going to act different if they are around a trainer too. It's just like the whole, like, the kids for the teacher, or, with the grandparents and whatever. So I 100% understand that. But, like, even our boarding dogs, when they come back, yes, we don't, like, let them drag us on leash or anything because their owners wouldn't want us to anyways. But, like, we give them quite a bit of privileges. Like, they get to almost, like, yes, they don't, like, come in our house and, like, cuddle on our furniture with us, but, like, we don't really even do that with our own dogs. Like, we do cuddle them, especially Birdie more than Rhodey in his own way. But, like, they're going out on the trail. They're, like, we let them sometimes just out in our kennel room while we're, like, cleaning up, and let them wander around, like, and they make good choices. And it's like, it's not that we're just, like, so strict that no one can make mistakes. No, like, they have ample opportunity if they want to. So that's where it's like, it's almost like I'm opening for conversation and feedback as well, as like, where is it that, like, is it, and I know the answer, and I know that not every owner is going to want to answer this or, like, admit this, but it's like, it's managing your human emotions 99% of the time, myself included. Like, if Birdie, like, I don't think it was the other day, gives any sort of little, like, on the e-collar, and she's with Casey, I go, what number was that? Like, I'm immediately, like, worried about that. And he's like, it was a 9. And she was just being like, she was just being like, she was even more sensitive or something. But I immediately go into, like, dog mom emotional brain with my own dogs as well. Like, and I get it. But I also have no problem holding my dogs accountable to whatever lengths it is that they're giving me. So I'm kind of like, where is it, guys? Like, help me help you type of thing, because I know there are harder dogs out there too. So, like, if you're listening to this and being like, my dog is just really hard, like the, leash aggression, the this and that, like, I get it. If some of you are really, like, high strung dogs. Like, don't get me wrong. There are some dogs too that I've trained that I'm like, I feel extremely challenged. And like, I wish I had 8 weeks with this dog to really get them to a point where I'd want to live with them. That's what I always look at when I'm training any dog. It's like, I want to get them as close to the point of as it would be a dog that I'd want to live with, because I know that that is a really fulfilling life for the dog as well. So I don't know. I just think sometimes we need to take a step back and remember like what it is our dog actually needs from us, and not what we need from our dog or what we want for our dog. Because if we can think that like the things our dogs actually need from us are pretty simple. Sometimes those things are not necessarily the things that you as an owner want to give. And that's going to be like obviously fulfillment. And most owners, if they get a dog, unless there's some that I'm like, I literally don't know why you got this dog that like needs the level of physical activity that you are not going to give it. And that I have a hard time with. I'll be totally honest. Like if you literally sit on your couch, the second you say you work an office job, the second you come home to the second you go to bed, and you think a dog's going to change that for you, I hope it does, but please don't do that. It's not. You have to change that first. But most owners don't have a hard time fulfilling their physical activity. It's more of the clarity, consistency, accountability that your dogs need. They literally need that, and some more than others. But if you just think about like, okay, I'm physically, mentally, and biologically fulfilling my dog, that includes food and water and stuff like that, the extras are just extras. Focus on those. If you can focus on those first, get those really good, and then see what extras your dog might be able to handle. And that is going to be a part of like the biological needs also is affection too. So don't like think that that means so I don't do anything with my dog. Like that's play, that's all of those things. But like if you're realizing I'm doing this thing right now, you know, maybe laying on the floor with my dog and just excessively petting for me, I get it. I've also, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but if you struggle with your dog more than you succeed with your dog, those are the things you're gonna have to start to cut out or at least minimize. So I think the biggest thing is just really focus on what your dog needs from you. And then I also understand that we get dogs for us too. So I know that there's going to be things that you're going to do that like your dog enjoys and you enjoy. Beautiful. Do more of that, but like watch what it does to your dog. And if you see any sort of like, my dog just blows me off. I struggle with them. They're anxious in the crate. They won't hold it down on the way to the K9 pack walk. If you're a graduate that comes and joins for those, that's the stuff I really want you to check in with, especially if you are also reaching out for boarding. Like I have kind of this new thing I'm doing, you guys, that for especially the people that board all the time, ignore this because you know the drill. But you know, if there's some people. Okay, we're just doing things here. But if, you know, there's people that I haven't interacted with their dogs in years, I'm now doing more questioning because I need to know, like, hey, are you still utilizing the crate? What are your current expectations on the walk? Is your dog still doing place? Because I typically know when the dog comes back if those things are being done, but I almost want the owner to have to answer it. And that gives them time then to tighten those things up. Because it's not that I won't take your dog. I will. But like if they have to come into a space where I also need to make sure it's conducive for the current training dogs, like I'm not going to let a dog that hasn't been in a crate for 2 years, I don't feel right putting them in a crate then and just being like, hey, be quiet. Like, no, I want you guys to make sure that you're doing that work at home, and we will happily take the time to make your dog feel as comfortable as possible when they're here, with holding them accountable for the things that I know they're also being held accountable for at home. So just remember that, like, your trainer, you're hiring the trainer to help you train. But if they're coming back, you know, I really want you to do the things that you want your trainer to do. Like if you're having a hard time on the walk, get out there and work on it. Like do the things that I'm doing, that I'm talking about. And if you are, I'll know it. Even if you're struggling, trust me. There's some dogs that come back that I'm like, this owner's trying so hard. We're just missing a few things. And those are the owners that I also take way more time with, and I pour into them. And I, you know, do little quick refreshers when they come to pick up for free. Like, it's not a, oh, well, I'm not going to take the time because I'm not being paid for it. No, if you are pouring into your dog, taking the time, applying what I've taught your dog, and you're just struggling with some stuff because naturally certain dogs are going to make you struggle a little bit more, you better believe I am going to be your number one fan and I'm going to help you. But if I see the opposite, I can't care more. And that's just a big blanket statement of like, take some time to reflect. I had to do the exact same when I first started my training journey with Rhodey. Is like, I have to care more than anyone else because truly I do. Like, it won't work unless I care more than anyone. Yeah. And that's when things change. That's when it's like the things that maybe feel uncomfortable for me of having to be like, you know what? I have a dog that has these needs and I wanted a dog that had these needs, but that's not what I have. And I embraced and really committed to what my dog is and what he needed. I realized like, wow, I have an even better like dog than what I thought I could have had just with his quirks. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like there is really beauty in the struggle, but sometimes it's with those really, really easy dogs and I'm like, I don't get it. And it's probably honestly because they're easy. Because it's like, oh, well, they're really good at home. They don't have any problems. So then it's easier to let the stuff that it's like, hey, don't let that dog drag you on the leash. Are you kidding me? It's a little bit easier to let that go if they're quote unquote easygoing dogs.
Yeah. That is really just I didn't know where that was going to all go. I just kind of wanted to lend our thoughts to that whole topic because I feel like it's something that we kind of just deal with a little bit here and there, but we never really like talk about it and address it. And
well, it's maybe
give like
either.
Feedback. And I know it's not just us.
But that's what I'm saying is like, I think that like you might not like some of the things that I said about that, and that's also okay. But it's like we're the ones seeing it day in and day out. And I know other people will reach out to me and be like, oh, well, how do I nicely tell? I'm like, you can say something clearly and still have respect behind it. Like other trainers, I will tell an owner, and if one owner is listening to this, she's an amazing owner and she tries really hard, but I had to say like, hey, I can tell he's getting away with XYZ at home. I'm like, why? And she needed that moment of me respectfully not calling her out, but like bringing it to her attention that I'm like, these are the moments of why you're struggling with the other stuff.
Just bringing some reality back into the picture.
Yeah, like why is your dog coming back and thinking that an open door on the crate means stand up and fly out? I know they didn't learn that here. And so if you tell me every single time they're coming out completely calm, I don't believe you. And I don't say that to be a jerk, but it's just like your dog shows me. And not saying that they'll never try stuff with us. Like, I'm not saying that. But this owner took that feedback so beautifully, and I was very respectful about it, but I wasn't sugarcoating. And so I think when I get people that say, like, well, how do I nicely tell them that, like, I can tell they're doing nothing at home? I said, well, you can just be straightforward and respectful. You don't have to be like, hey, you're sucking. But you can just be like, hey, like, this is what I'm seeing. And I do want to let you know that the second that I tightened XYZ up, I didn't see it again. And let them take what they want from it. But then just know that if we did see a reoccurring thing where it meant that a boarding dog is coming back and it's taking up time for my training dogs, that's where you'd start to see a boundary of like, no, we're not going to be able to accept because the follow through at home isn't there. I've never had to do that, thank goodness, because I work with amazing people that take that feedback, but
try to weed those owners out to begin with.
Yeah, so it's just like if you are another trainer listening to this, like I think the best thing you can do is not just tell the owners, oh, your dog did great, if they caused you so much stress, because they might have done great because you had to do 10 extra steps you shouldn't have had to do for a boarding dog. That's where it's like if they're just coming for training fresh, oh, you better believe that they're going to make you, that's what we're doing. That's what they're here for. Yeah. But if you have trained this dog and there's feedback that could really actually help benefit the owner and the dog, bring it up and let the owner perceive it the way that they want. And if they take it really personally, that's something that they have to work on. You can be very respectful with that feedback. And owners, if you're listening, know that if your trainer, especially if I'm your trainer, is saying anything, it's not because I'm annoyed with you or mad at you. It's because I want more for you and your dog. And
because we know you need to hear it too.
Yeah. And it's just again, I wish I had someone that would respectfully give me feedback back when I started. Because if I'm ever giving feedback, it's never wanting to shame you. It's more just this is what I know you need to hear, or these are steps that you need to take to make some additional progress. So with that, I could talk about it literally all day.
Yeah, that's such a huge topic.
And there's this balance where I had someone also message me and say hey, it might be a great podcast. But that saying of well, when is it time for us to just let dogs be dogs? I really hate that let dogs be dogs thing, because it's what does that mean?
Yeah.
Does that mean let dogs walk all over us? Does that mean, the question was, do you let dogs do zoomies? Yes. And this person that asked it, I adore. So it's just more or less probably a actual genuine curiosity. Birdie is the zoomie queen. Rhodey gets a couple of zooms here and there, but Birdie's more the zoomie queen. And there's certain times that I would shush, out in our social yard, if one of the younger dogs really starts getting going and I need to keep the energy low, I might disagree with it then, but in another context I might allow it. So our dogs do zoomies on the trail. I don't really let other dogs do, because they don't know the path, so I don't want them getting hurt. They don't know the path like our dogs do, where every tree is and every turn is. But our dogs honestly do more dog things, if you will, than 99% of the dogs I see. And if dogs being dogs means jumping on people and pulling on leash and sniffing wherever they want at the time that they want, then no, I don't even want that.
No.
If that's what dogs being dogs is, I don't want it.
I feel that's such a... I don't love, like you said, I don't love that dogs being dogs thing, because that's what people would associate that with, just jumping up, doing whatever they want. No, our dogs earn their sniff time, so to say, or their zoomy time, or their off leash time.
Or they're just at a point now too where they don't even have to really earn it, because we do talk about the training dogs and stuff, hey, work really hard for me, you're gonna get really good stuff. But now, since it is such a lifestyle with our dogs and stuff, we can open our doors and let our dogs fly out. But I also know that we could let them know in any second, hey, get back in here.
Yep.
Let's, so they don't even really have to quote unquote earn it, because the lifestyle is so consistent that it's go out to your kingdom, run around. But hey, also, if I tell you heal, I need you to heal. It's really as simple as that.
So it's really, really simple. But you brought up human emotion and what humans think, oh, I just want to let my dog be a dog. It's all right, but you're also struggling major at home, but you want to let your dog be a dog and drag
it's more just tell me what that means.
What?
What does that mean for you?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah. And if other people say that to you, just let those dogs be dogs, I want you to ask them, what does that mean to you? Let them answer that. See what they say. Yeah. If they say, just let them, figure it out. If
let them come up to me, let them jump
on me. Be that's when
way.
You can be that isn't my definition of letting my dog be a dog. What my definition is taking them on adventures. Don't let people shame you for that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's why do we have to, some of the stuff that I teach dogs, I know is a little bit more complicated than just everyone being able to teach it. My heel is different than others. And if some people are fine with, just teaching their dog not to pull on a leash, but they're 2 feet ahead, great. But I know people are hiring me to teach it a certain way, and that's the way I teach it. So, but in general, don't overcomplicate things that don't need overcomplicating. That doesn't mean you don't have to work really hard and consistently on stuff, but truly putting on a leash in your house, putting on a leash outside, and working your dog to get to the things that you want consistently is going to get you to really good stuff. Crating your dog, having them be patient for food, not letting them drag you out doorways, that kind of stuff. We don't all talk about it so much. just to talk about it. Like,
seriously,
it's really to help. And those are all the things that we do with our boarding dogs when they come back, is besides you can't pull me on leash and you need to heel, you can't blow through my doorways, and you need to look to us for food. The rest of the stuff that they have to do while they're here is easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and pretty much just like fun, relaxed, chill. Like, yeah. Honestly.
We could talk about this for...
I'm sweating.
Forever. And it's really, there's a lot that goes into it. But when it comes down to it, like we said, it's very simple. Like, the owners that struggle with those things at home, and they come back to us, and they're like... you can see just some owners like, how'd you do that? We're like... I mean,
I'll show you.
I'll show you. We're not magicians. Like, we just are clear. We're clear. We treat dogs like dogs. We also have fun with it, too. Dogs... dogs like to have fun too. We like to have fun, but there is respectfulness involved in that. If your dog doesn't respect you, then we need to have a talk about that relationship with you and your dog.
I think the coolest thing too is, like, I genuinely see dogs here love being here. Like, it would be different if all these dogs, like, you walk in and they're just like, oh God, she's in here. No, we have to work with the opposite. Some of them get so obsessed with me or Casey, depending, and
mainly
it's like
you,
we almost have to work through them being like, I want to come out, because they love being here so much. So it's like, and when Casey says like, it's all really actually pretty easy, the training stuff is not like easy, so don't like feel, you know, oh, I should just be able to do this on my own. But like the follow through stuff, especially if I trained your dog, like, I hope to have made it as user friendly, if you will, as possible. And if you're feeling like you're struggling on some stuff, tighten things back up. Like, really try doing that. And then, you know, if you're like, oh, well, I do want to let my dog romp around more, go out with them on their long line and go work with them with you. It doesn't need to be just freedom in the yard. Like, find ways to incorporate your dogs being a dog that works for your lifestyle, and create what that means. Like, you get to create the definition of what that means. And I think that's important here, because I don't even think I'll use that term, but what dogs being a dog means to me means completely different to Joe Schmo neighbor down the street that doesn't care about any sort of...
Let that dog be a dog.
Yeah, like, no.
Come up and jump on me, and let him come over here, and let's wrestle, and what?
Like, what? And then the dog's jumping on... this actually happened. Then the dog, the puppy is jumping on him, and he's like, oh, it's biting me. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm experiencing this right now. Then, mind you, this was not a dog I was working with. This was a neighbor's situation. Weird. Like, I just witnessed it and I was cringing.
Yeah, we're like, all right, time to leave, because
I legitimately have sweat running down my back because we are doing a pergola podcast at 77 degrees under the pergola right now. For any of my Floridian friends or something like that, you're probably like, 77?
Yeah.
That's nothing, but I'm sweating.
It does feel nice. We'll be like, she told me today she didn't have a preference as to if we're outside or inside. And I really like doing them outside, especially right now because it's so nice outside. But I know that when it's wintertime, we're not going to be out here doing this. So
stay tuned. Maybe. You never know.
You never know. But like I said, we could talk about that forever, and I feel like we could like just talk about that. But anyways.
And with that, Casey, what's your peeve and highlight for the week? Have you been putting any thought to it?
Yes, I have. So my peeve is very straightforward. Is that freaking whatever stung me on the ankle yesterday.
Abby.
And now it's super swollen today. It doesn't really hurt. It's just uncomfortable. So that sucked. But highlight this week, we kind of talked about it already, was getting our kitchen back into a functional kitchen again. Like we said, it's not done. We'll get there. But just being able to have all of our cooking stuff and everything that you need in the kitchen back in the one spot is really nice.
My peeve of the week is just the ongoing dust in the house. I don't like when I don't like the feeling I get, and this is like of walking upstairs at the end of the day and feeling like everything feels really dirty. Like, I just feel angsty about it, and it like kind of puts me in a bad mood. So that's kind of my peeve. And then my highlight is getting into a bed with clean sheets. Simple as that. There's nothing like cleaning your sheets, getting into it. And I think I put the tight sheet on wrong, but it still felt great getting into a clean bed.
On that
That's
note,
it.
I think we're going to end this one. We talked your ears off a lot about relationships with dogs and our expectations as trainers and how it's simple, and it's really not simple. But when you break it down,
it's simple, but it's not.
There's simple concepts, and we feel like everybody can achieve those if they're willing to put in the effort and help their relationship with their dog. So
yeah.
Anyways, we'll see you next time.
Y'all.
See you next time on Casually K9.
All right, guys. See you next Tuesday, because I am never committing to 2 in 1 week again. If we do 2 in 1 week, it'll just be a surprise. I'm never going to promise it again because I suck.
I don't see that. Don't get your hopes up. I don't see that happening right now. That's
what I'm saying. I'll be surprised.
A lot of stuff going on, but maybe this fall sometime we'll shoot an extra one. We're feeling ambitious,
and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.